Hello, it's Book Quote Wednesday and the word is group. Today I am reading from my young adult fantasy The Comeback of the King, sequel to The Teen, The Witch and the Thief, which I read from last week. The king is or was the supernatural being who ruled the area of what we now call the city of Salisbury thousands of years ago. For some reason he is back with us in the present day. For some reason, my teen hero Ted is the only one who can defy him, and for that reason the king wants him dead. The king hasn't been able to locate Ted during waking hours, so now he is hunting Ted in his dreams. Fortunately, Ted has a friend he didn't know about. Clouds scudded over the thick grass like a speeded-up movie. From the way the horizon just dropped away, Ted could tell he was on a hilltop. He was reasonably certain it was Old Sarum, though there was no ditch, no ruined castle, just a large wooden palace. The king strode past him 20 meters away. "Where are you, boy? Where are you?" Here, Ted thought with a nervous giggle, but had the sense not to say anything out loud. He glanced about him. The grass only came up to his ankles. How could the king not be seeing him? Of course, it was because his friend was standing between them. A short distance away, the Queen strolled vaguely over the grass, seeming more interested in her fingernails than looking for him. "Boy, boy, where are you, boy?" Her Majesty sounded supremely bored. "Don't look round," Ted's friend murmured. Ted looked round and gulped. Inspector Stewart had none of the King's bluster or the Queen's languor. She would section off part of the hilltop and study it minutely, every queue, every trace, every trail followed to its logical end, before moving off into another area. "He has set his hunter onto you." Sometimes she was the police officer Ted had met in the burger bar, she of the unexpected snogging, and sometimes she was something much deeper and more powerful. Her authority and power came not just from her uniform, but some inner resource, some primeval sense of purpose with the sole intent of finding. The inspector moved with a silent, deadly purpose that covered half the area in just a few moments. It reminded Ted of how he played battleships with Robert. Robert would send his shells randomly around Ted's boards, sometimes hitting something, sometimes not. Ted would send his shells methodically in lines across Robert's ocean. 2 times out of 3, Ted would win. The king has the power, but the hunter has the subtlety. Ted's friend still kept his voice down. It wasn't a whisper, because a whisper stands out as much as a shout. It was pitched just enough to be barely distinguishable from the background noise of the wind and footsteps in rustling grass. "She'll find me in no time," Ted moaned. "Not necessarily. Anyway, you've done this before." True, Ted thought. Sometimes he still dreamed about it, or when the clouds were just right, he thought he saw her again in the sky. He had lurked with Robert, well, someone he thought was Robert, in Meta Salisbury, while the face of the witch covered half the sky, scanning the city below, looking for 2 boys. He had been able to hide them with the right state of mind. He could work on doing it again now. "I will find you, boy!" Ted flinched. The king had come right up behind him, and Ted's friend had already moved to stand between them again. Ted swallowed at the fury that stamped on the man's face. "Don't move, don't say anything, just stay there," his friend murmured. Ted nodded violently in agreement, though he also strained for a glimpse of his friend's face because he was quite curious to know who it was. His attention was caught by a naked woman who walked casually by. She looked a bit like Zoe. What's she?" Ted's friend glanced in her direction. "Oh, you're meant to be having sex with her at the moment. Don't worry, I'm blocking it." "Gee, thanks." Ted watched her go with only a vague regret, and wished he wasn't quite so used to not having sex with naked women, especially ones who looked a bit like Zoe. "Oi, less of the attitude. It would make you flash like a beacon for the king to find. You need to be nice and mellow, and I'm keeping it that way for you. And see that lot?" Ted's friend pointed at a group of dwarves in chainmail who were trotting across the grass. They were singing words that were simultaneously deep and profound and also utterly meaningless, to the tune of the Hi-Ho song, and carrying a very long, jagged, rusty saw between them. "You're not sleeping in a very comfortable position, and they'd be cutting into your spine if I wasn't stopping them. Whoops, hang on." The king was walking away again, but the hunter had worked her way close enough to touch. Ted's friend had to move very quickly. She was crouched down on the grass, almost at Ted's feet, and a hand moved slowly across the tops of the blades as if she were searching for a dropped coin. Ted's friend took hold of Ted's ankles and lifted them up, one at a time, so that her hand passed beneath Ted's feet. The hunter pulled a face and moved away. I will find you, boy. The king was a safe distance away again, and after the close brush with the hunter, the futility of his rage was almost like comic relief. I will find you, and I will rend you limb from limb. He will too, if he can, Ted's friend noted quietly. But you're protecting me, Ted protested. This is actually quite hard to do. While you're awake, your mind is drowned out. While you're awake, your mind is drowned out by all the other waking minds. But when you're asleep, the hunter can fine-tune the search. Tomorrow, you really should just leave Salisbury. Get out of range. Don't you start. Ted's friend shrugged. Well, if you really want to help yourself, the least you could do is wake up. Scene change. Ted lifted his head up from his folded arms and blinked sleepy, gum-filled eyes around the office. It was still lit by the computer screen, but there was an outline of grey daylight around the door to the front of the shop. He winced because his back ached like someone had been cutting into it with the rusty saw. He had spent the night slumped at the desk. He groaned and straightened and stretched and felt everything click back into place. His mouth tasted foul. He hadn't been able to clean his teeth the previous night, and his head was itchy, and the rest of him just felt grimy and sticky in all the wrong crevices and badly in need of a shower. He got up from the chair and walked around the room a few times, twisting his back, flexing his knees. Then he sat back down again, logged back on, and went through the tedious routine of disguising who he was and checking the text email service. Yes! There was one message from Sarah replying to his question of the night before. You bet. And Ted's fortunes have just turned around. Remember, you can buy my books at www.benjeeps.com. See you next time.